Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another Southern California first time home buyer market update. My name is Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. This week, we've got kind of an interesting update for you. And I think last time we talked about one of the things I mentioned was that the next few weeks might really set the tone for the spring and possibly even the year. So we've got some updates on that front, and I want to just jump right into it because I don't think we have any time to waste. So let me go ahead and bring this up. Okay, so what you are looking at here is our closed prices. And remember, these are a little old, right? I want people to remember that this data is 4 to 6 weeks. In the past, these are deals that were negotiated probably before the holidays. So we had a nice little bump in prices, and then they have dipped down a little bit, both on our entry-level single-family homes as well as our condos. What I want to kind of impress upon you, though, is looking at the shape of this and then kind of look at what's happened really since the beginning of the year. You know, we kind of had some drops, and it's really been pretty flat. If you were to draw a line here, this is a pretty straight line. Maybe even once you discount these things, pretty much a very low slope line, kind of back all the way from September. And I think that corresponds to kind of what we're feeling sort of anecdotally in the market, right? Is that I think for those people who are just kind of really waiting for that sort of bloodshed, blood in the streets moment, that hasn't materialized yet. And I don't think it's going to. I know I say this every time, but really, there's maybe 10 pieces of data that says that's not going to happen for every one piece of information that says that might be happening. So our prices are really in that kind of steady range. And, steady in sort of January often means rising in the spring months, generally speaking. Obviously, our interest rates have a lot to do with that. So if we go on here to our monthly payment, I think this really kind of, tells you why we're not seeing that, or at least one of the reasons why we're not seeing blood in the streets. If we look here on our entry-level single-family home, and just as a reminder, this is that first quartile pricing based on 5% down, including mortgage insurance, a 30-year fixed with property taxes. We kind of come up with a sort of model calculation. We're at 5386, right? And where were we back at that number? Gosh, all the way back in April. I mean, really, our payments have been treading in this range since April of last year. So the payment on this entry-level home, while it has fluctuated a bit, overall, we haven't really gained or lost any ground on that payment since April of this year. And I think that's a big reason why you're seeing more stability in this market than I think you would expect. If we look here at our entry-level condo, as of right now, we're at $4,053 a month. Gosh, here we were back in March. In the middle of March, we were at $4,052. And again, in that same April timeframe. So we've had some fluctuations since then, right? And that beginning of November period really was sort of a bit of a high point in pricing. I mean, think about this. Look at how far we've come from that peak, right? In the last 12 months, the highest amount that somebody was paying for this sort of entry-level single-family home based on prevailing mortgage rates was $6,200 a month all in. And look at where we are today. We're at $5,386. So in terms of sort of the affordability crisis, right, that crested at this point, and we are now at a point where we're, roughly about 15% below that point. It's even bigger news if you're looking here on condos. Our peak was $4,779, and we're at $4,053 today. That's actually almost 20%, right, in that category, between 15 and 20% off of that sort of peak payment. So, for the people saying the market hasn't reacted at all, well, I mean, I think it has, but you've got to understand that the market reacting is not just about prices. It's about volume. It's based on interest rates. There's just a lot going on to unpack that produces that, which is the reason why we really wanted to get down to this payment figure, because this really sort of encapsulates a lot of these variables together. It doesn't focus on just one thing like pricing or interest rates. Now, if we look at our minimum household income required, again, it's a very similar story. We're down to about $132,000 on our entry-level single-family home, and we have dipped below $100,000 again for our entry-level condo. If we look at our absorption rate, as I mentioned, we always have kind of some wild fluctuations around the holidays. That's because of this weird timing, uh, you know, I think asynchronicity, where the timing of new listings and the timing of listings going under contract start to become separated. And as you can see, with some kind of gyrations back and forth, we have now landed in the mid 70s. That's really around a zone we have been in, frankly, since about the middle of last year, when you think about it, or even going back, probably back to May, of last year. We've really been treading in this zone, not up in these 80s and 90s like we were in the spring, but this is kind of a normal looking market. I mean, I don't want to sort of downplay the situation we're in, but I think for buyers and agents and sellers who were used to the markets of late 2020 and all the way through 2021, the present market might look very different than anything they've experienced lately. But the reality is, these kind of absorption rates are sort of in the norm. If we look at our total inventory, this is really where the title of this video comes from. And I'm going to go off screen share here in a second, but look at where we are in entry level single family homes. We are basically flat on inventory, only a small amount, and we're at about the same inventory level we were at in May of last year, which, for those of you remembering, was not a ton of inventory, right? We have started to see a little bit of an increase here, a little bit of an increase in that entry level condo. And to be fair, typically we don't see big increases until we start getting into that February timeframe. But last year was a little bit of a weird year. That was still a red hot market where things were going away as soon as they hit the market. The fact that this is a much perceived cooler market and we're not seeing inventory levels rising, and here we are kind of towards the end of January, that really tells me a lot about the kind of year that I think we're going to have. And I think this is not going to be a year with a lot of inventory. And I'm going to share here for a second, because there's another thing. And here's an interesting statistic that I heard. This is according to Freddie Mac. Of all the mortgages in the United States, right? All of the mortgages in the United States, 99% of those mortgages are below 6% right now. So that's essentially meaning 99% of the mortgages that are out there on homes are below present market interest rates. And that really plays havoc, especially in this entry-level single-family home segment. And the reason why it plays havoc in this entry-level single-family home segment is a big source of sellers who are putting these homes on the market, these entry-level single-family homes, are move-up buyers, and they simply almost do not exist in this market. So a lot of the inventory that we are seeing come to market is people who had a rental home and decided they didn't want to rent it out anymore. Inheritance homes being sold where somebody has passed on or gone on to assisted living, and now the family is selling that house. That's the bulk of the listings that we are seeing in this entry-level single-family category that are coming to the market. We also are seeing some flips, but where are those flippers getting those homes? Well, those flippers are primarily getting those homes from the exact same groups of people, right? Need to sell an investment or an inheritance, and they need to get rid of it quickly. Now, if we go to 14 days still active, again, this is really stabilized. It came down here on our entry-level condo and on our entry-level single-family home. It's really just flat. I mean, in fact, if anything, on our blue line here, if you look at this, one of the things that you might notice is, that's almost declined a little bit from a peak back here in July. And then finally, we've got our week supply of inventory, right? And again, this plays a little bit of that sort of volatility game around the holidays. But I want to point out sort of like where we've ended up here. I mean, we are below, for our entry-level single-family home, which is the blue line, we are at 8.75 weeks. That is below 10. And for our entry-level condos, we are at 10 weeks. These are not historically very big numbers, and they are stable numbers. They are not growing quickly numbers. And I really think that that's kind of an interesting sort of harbinger of things to come. So finally, we're going to put some caveats on this, though. whenever we do these market updates, and the reason why we do these market updates every other week for first-time home buyers is because things change. So when we give you this analysis and we talk about what's going on, that's exactly what it is. This is what's going on. This is what the road ahead looks like standing here today, but that could change. The real question, especially for entry-level home buyers, is that market lives and dies by interest rates right now. That is just the way it is. And any volatility in those interest rates seems to produce a corresponding change in market demand, right? So those rates go down, market demand goes up. Those rates go up, market demand eases. And that relationship is almost on a one-to-one. Like, I mean, it's shocking to see how quickly the market seems to react to that. Like within a week or two, we start to see the effects of that. So just bear that in mind when you're kind of looking at this. What we're giving you is sort of the road ahead as it pertains to now. I don't see a coming crash. In fact, I think our likelihood on that is very low. I think the question this year is, are we going to finish out the year a little down or a little up? I don't see really a lot of reason to believe that we're going to be more than plus or minus 5% to prices. Obviously, interest rates, everything could change that fundamentally. But as I see it right now, I think we're sticking pretty close to flat. The other thing, kind of the question is, really, where is the economy going to be? Where is unemployment going to be? And the irony is, right, that some of these exact same things, right, unemployment, which might reduce demand to some degree, though I don't think it'll reduce demand by as much as people think, since many of the current homeowners in their homes bought those homes with much higher payments and are able to refinance down. They may not need two incomes in that household anymore to afford that payment. What's going to happen with unemployment? Because if that number goes up, that will ease inflation, and that, on the other hand, will produce lower interest rates, which may actually cause prices to accelerate upward. Again, I'm really wanting to watch what happens in February, because I think that's going to tell us that we're going to actually see some market acceleration. And the final point I want to make is, everyone is talking about where we think the year is going to end up, right? But as I have said on multiple occasions, it's not a straight line. That is not how home prices work. The reality is that line might have a trend and end up somewhere, but it could have ups and downs between now and the end of the year. So just bear that in mind also, that there's some inherent volatility in prices. We have a period where interest rates dip to the mid fives. I'm telling you, that will produce higher prices, almost guaranteed. We have a period where rates go back up towards 7. That may result in lower prices, especially for those less desirable properties. They will get hit harder. So just bear some of these things in mind. Anyhow, questions and comments, we love them. If you are looking to buy or sell real estate in Southern California, we would absolutely love to work with you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we will see you again real soon.